There's no way Vande Mataram could have been the national anthem of India. This is a song that is sung by the Hindu sannyasins while they're attacking villages where Muslims live.
We should remove secularism from the preamble. Do we need to again educate, inform, and tell people what the preamble really is?
In our fundamental rights, I know we are secular. You don't need those two words in the preamble for us to prove ourselves to be that.
Being a true Hindu is being able to understand the difference between Hindutva and Hinduism.
And say, yes, Hindutva is not Hinduism. It's just not it.
Where is dissent today? A Magsaysay Award winner who helped the army, who helped the locals, who peacefully was trying to fight for the rights of people. He referred to the government as they, and that is why it is okay for him to be put under NSA.
Those who want to spread violence want thoughtless emotional reaction, which is why they don't want you to think.
This clip will be taken and you will be called Tukde Tukde guy.
You're taught to hate. This is based on what color of skin, based on whether that person looks Muslimish, the name of the person. This is how we are brought up in this country today in 2026.
So are you anti-Brahminical?
Oppressive framework that we have, which is a Brahminical framework, it has no space in a democratic, equal society.
It's so sad you said that. Any of the ideas in this book, if you discuss, you'll get into trouble. Yeah. The preamble, the national anthem.
That's the truth.
Usually on Deshbhakt, when we have a guest, it's very easy to introduce the person that we are interviewing because either it's a politician or it's an economist or it's an author. Today, it's a little bit more complicated because we have with us Mr. T.M. Krishna, who is an author, an activist, and of course, most probably prominently known as a musician. But I'm going to throw the monkey on him. What first? Please define yourself. Who is T.M. Krishna, this strange person who in today's India wants to do music and wants to do activism and wants to speak out? Crazy sort of people do all of this business.
I concede that I'm part of the crazy club. I think at some level, if you have to be a creative person, you have to be a little off in some manner. I define myself first as definitely a singer-musician. That's why my world begins. And I think in some ways it is the ability to sing, to kind of like open your lungs up and like give it all out, is what actually gives you an access to seeing the world.
Okay.
And we keep talking about freedom of expression, all these things, right? And I think singing like that is that expanse of being able to just belt it out. And to me, it all began there. It all began me being able to sing. And it's through music that I started asking all the difficult questions. So in a way, I say I'm first a singer-musician. Everything else comes only from there.
So here is a book now that he has come up again with a lot of love and effort. We, the people of India, decoding a nation's symbols. Very, very interesting book. I've been flipping through it. I've been reading chapters off and on. Interesting tidbits about how the symbols of our nation came into being, whether be it the flag, whether be it the national anthem, the lion symbol. Before I go to the book, I want to ask you something which is a little personal for me, is because just day before yesterday, I was having a look at the whole Grammys, and what hit me as a commentator on politics, as a critique, as a satirist, as a news commentator, is that every second speech at the Grammys was about politics, about resistance, about democracy, about diversity, about immigration. With Bad Bunny winning so many Grammys, his first line was "Ice out."
Yeah, I remember that.
I mean, does it shock you? Do we even consider to think that we'll have something like that here in India? Or, jo hai, I mean, even that is now going out of the window.
I think we've never really had it in India. Let's be very honest. And the reason for that, I feel very strongly, is art in general has been a very feudal thing, right? So either you're an artist under a king, Raja or somebody. Then you became an artist under the government and the bureaucracy and the politician. You want awards, you want opportunities. Then also now you have the corporate, the event manager and the corporation. Now event manager, corporation, politician all go together. Like you can't separate them. So then you're an artist. Again, you have to be subservient to this structure. So we really have never been free. The only set of artists.
You're a peasant.
100%. And within feudalism is also caste, gender, blah, 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 all the rest the shit that we have. But the only set of artists, if you look at it in India, who have always resisted, asked the questions, are those who come from marginal communities. Dalit artists, listen to their songs, listen to what they speak about. They speak about everything on your face. They tell you to buzz off. They tell you their realities. Minorities have always found no other choice but to through song, dance, movement, stories, tell you the realities. The middle section of society, upper section of society, who dominate mainstream art in that sense, are absolutely subservient, have a servant mentality. Everybody will tell you, to budget to zyada hai, if I do this, my movie. This crap we've heard for too long.
Correct.
Now, so if you're nobody, you can't speak, you have no power. Then you have power that is beyond anybody else, you have earned the crores. You say, I can't lose the 200 crores. Then what the hell?
So, I mean, I'm just itching to get to the book, but I was like, acha, I'm going to sit with TM Krishna. And then suddenly Sonam Wangchuk pops up in my mind. Another Magsaysay Award winner. And he's sitting in jail right now. Not well, as a matter of fact. If you read the papers yesterday, the Supreme Court is requesting the government to please consider. So where is dissent today? A Magsaysay Award winner who helped the army, who helped the locals, who peacefully was trying to fight for the rights of people. I mean, if you just saw what Tushar Mehta said, that he referred to the government as they.
Yeah.
And that is why it is okay for him to be put under NSA. Not any other charge, the most grievous, serious NSA.
Absolutely.
Given the fact that the government is behaving in this way, would you now reconsider your activism, the amount that you speak out? Is there going to be some sort of self-check? Nay, this is getting too much now. I might be next.
Look, I'll be lying if I don't say that this thought has not come into my mind over many years. Every time there's a cycle of violence, there's a cancellation, or there is this attack from the right-wing ecosystem, if you can call it that, there is this moment when you're like, you know what, maybe you should just not say it this way, not use that word, or maybe not say anything. You don't have to respond to everything. So sometimes you wonder, there is fear, let's be very clear. You may have the strength to push through it. But there is this underlying feeling like, hey, this bit getting too much, There is family. Let's not forget, there's family, there's friends, and they're also collateral damage in this entire conversation, right? So, of course, there is this looking over your shoulder. There is this feeling like last year, when there was a series of attacks on me for various reasons, I boarded a flight to leave for the States. I passed security, and a young friend of mine called me and said, where are you? I said, I'm just past security, I'm leaving. The first thing he asked me is, have you arranged for security at home? It didn't even strike me. And at that moment, I froze. I was like, shoot, I did not. He said, you know why I'm telling you? I'm telling you because I'm getting WhatsApp forwards about you saying that you're affiliated to this organization, that organization. You are anti-Hindu, jihadi, all these words that are thrown in. And I immediately want to call you and ask you whether you've arranged for security. This is true. And at that time, we're like, what do we do? Right. So the fact is that these fears do linger. But it's also true that you feel at some level that you have the privilege still to be able to push through and do what you're doing and find a way through these moments. And okay, we will see.
I'll come to the pushing through the dark moments. I mean, but just our recent episode that we did on Mohammad Deepak. I mean, the kind of Mohammad, as he himself called himself, Mohammad Deepak, the kind of reaction that we got from the people shows that no, it's not as dark as some people would like us to believe. There is this whole quiet majority. But how long would people like you keep, or Mohammad Deepak keep trying to push this through? When will the quiet majority speak up?
This is a tragedy of India at some level. Let's be very clear. Even when you see some of these protests that happen in America or anywhere else, the number of middle class that come out on the street, number of young people who join the people who are always on the street, many people are always on the street, and join it. And it's heartwarming to see. We don't see this collectivity in India. And I believe that's fundamentally because of our social order. Our class, caste, divided order, which we have not addressed properly, is one of the reasons middle class say, in Tamil they say, why this trouble for me? This is a classic thought process. And if you think
in Hindi, it's sab changa si.
Similar, right? So if you think of who's the middle and the upper middle class, it will be people also with caste privilege in general. An average.
Correct.
Now, they are saying like, I'm getting my money in what a salary I'm getting income tax rebate if it's there. Why get into all this on the street thing? It's not affecting me.
Correct.
And then this comes from social order, from very caste community thinking. Saying, are we fine? Is my family fine? So unless we break and find a way of largening the discourse, you can't say, let it hit me. and then I will respond. This classic case is like for floods in Chennai. Give example. So when the floods, the famous 2015 one or whatever, and we went to see if we can help people who were slightly low-lying areas, and my wife and I were in the car, we went in, and we were walking through these gullies, back streets in North Chennai, which is very marginalized section, with water till here. Okay, it's not water, it's a sewage. So you're walking through sewage, I went into this house, I remember there was almost so much water. And I was asking this guy, what is it? You know what he told me? He said, usually the water will be knee-deep, this time it's hip.
Knee is okay.
Now, exactly. Now, why was I concerned that time? Because that water also came to my house. For him, it's an every year happening.
Correct.
He says, every year sewage is coming into my house. You didn't care a shit about it. Now, for the first time, water has entered your house in South Chennai locality of poshness. Now you say, oh my God, we've destroyed our environment. This is exactly what we want to wait for. I don't know. So it is really, really sad because unfortunately, the only way people will awaken is if there is a larger collection of understanding that this cannot be. You can't have a situation where somebody goes and stops the harassment of an individual and a case is put on him for what? Disturbing harmony or whatever. Ridiculous, right?
So let me now.
And once again, this silent maturity thing has to also stop here. We cannot remain a silent majority.
I live this every day. We get like hundreds of mails.
Yeah.
Most of the mails with issues are to do with their issues. My exam, my job, my area corruption. And I'm like, how many mails am I seeing that are talking about my country, my issue, my nation, what is happening in terms of policy, etc., etc. It's so I understand when you're saying that when it hits them, but the only problem is when it hits you, it's too late already.
That's exactly what I'm saying. By the way, if it is hit somebody who is an upper section of society, it's definitely late, boss.
So. But let me then reverse throw this on you. At a time when people are so self-centered, it only matters to them. You have come up with a book, We the People of India, Decoding a Nation's Symbols, and you're hoping that people take and understand the significance. And of course, it's not just the flag that you're talking about. While you're talking about the national flag, you're also weaving in the story of India. You're also weaving in the ethos of nation building. I was just remarking at the last line that is in the book, in the acknowledgements actually. I sent to my fellow citizens love and the hope that we will still find our way back to the optimism and foresightedness of our founding years. So there was an optimism, a foresightedness in our founding years, which we have floundered big time somewhere. Why would then somebody, a nation that is so self-obsessed, read this book?
Very good question. Because you have to also hope as an artist, as a writer, that you will be able to somehow cut through this. And it's not the numbers. If there's one person, two people who read some part of it, maybe not the whole book, maybe one paragraph, one line. And as an artist, I know that can happen. I know there can be those vulnerable moments for any individual where they read something and that probably triggers a certain pause, a certain moment of thought. Because if you don't believe that is possible, then you don't do anything. You don't sing, you don't dance, you don't make your videos, right? So I think underlying this kind of sadness that we feel is also saying, no, I think there is still a possibility that somebody will read a part of it and say, why don't we think this way? Or what have we lost? And they don't need to agree with everything. Agreement is not the problem at all. But that hope that we can somehow think of humanity as a larger idea, I think that is also maybe a human urge at some level.
Yeah, that's the problem, isn't it? Because you want people to engage with this book. You want people to engage with the Constitution, the Preamble at an intellectual level, while unfortunately everything is being reacted to at an emotional level.
Of course.
How does then one deal with this reality that people are dealing with everything emotionally? I have people write to me. First, they used to only abuse me. Now they say they abuse me, but they say you are right. But they say I am still abusing you is because why are you spreading this negativity?
This negativity.
No. Yeah, but you're spreading negativity.
Exactly.
Now you are talking intellectual stuff here. Do you think that people who are responding emotionally will respond to intellectualism?
So I always feel that we should not separate these two quarters, the intellectual and the emotional. I've always felt that we make a mistake by doing this. Because any intellectual activity is also an emotional activity. This book is written because I care deeply about something. I want to understand it better because I feel it. When I see the flag, it does something to me. When I sing Janagana Mana Dhinayaka Jaya He, it does something to me. There is an emotional connection. So I want to understand, where did it come from? What were the words? What are we doing with it today?
Yeah.
So intellectual activity is not an unemotional happening. It is an emotion. Similarly, the problem with the emotional reactions you're talking is, emotional reactions, can they be thoughtless, is the question you should ask. Right?
Yeah.
We are those who want to spread violence want thoughtless emotional reaction, which is why they don't want you to think. Anybody who stops you from thinking and bombards you constantly with just triggers and triggers and triggers is ensuring you don't use your mind. So if you're going to say, let's also just do that, you're doing exactly the same thing. I want someone to feel and think. I want them to, even in their own way. By the way, this is written in English, in maybe in a language that is mine, but can this become a song? Can this become a play? Can this become a little slogan?
Yeah.
Which is beyond my control, which somebody else does. So, and also remember, sometimes when you speak to just like the everyday person in a tea shop, they say something that's probably far more profound than all the words I've written in this book. Now the question is, are they feeling it, or are they intellectual or not? How do you answer this question? It could be, as an academic, we can say, oh yeah, this is such a profound idea, sociological. That person is not thinking all those things. That person is just saying it. It's a lived experience. In that, there is a depth of understanding that the person just knows. I think it's important to respect that possibility also.
Okay. As you were saying, this book is in English in the language. It could be in any other language. I found some historical nuggets in the book fascinating. And one of them was how you have juxtaposed and compared constitutions across the world, preambles across the world, and the fact that there are national anthems that can be sung in 2 or more languages in a particular nation.
Exactly.
I mean, that thought was pretty appealing. Why didn't we think about that in India then?
Because fundamentally, from then till now, our thought process is Hindi dominated. We just have to
But when we
accept
agreed
it.
that Hindi is not the national language, Rashtra Bhasha, it is the Raj Bhasha. Of course, many people will still say, what shit are you talking about?
Exactly.
It is the national language.
I know.
They're like, no, it is not.
I still can't believe people say it. But
People,
anyway.
people will fight you for it. So it is very fascinating. When I started thinking about it, then did that thought not come to the constitution framers?
Looks like it never did. See, one thing is true. Initially, they were not comfortable with dividing states by language.
Yeah.
That's also there in the
Correct.
book. Okay, they were uncomfortable. And of course, Andhra Pradesh happened, and then everything just happened similarly, right? So there was this understanding, there was this fear that language separation will lead to some kind of a disintegration. There was this fear, okay?
That's another book altogether.
Yes,
We'll come to it.
That was there. But I really feel, I'm also amazed that they didn't think of this possibility. Maybe there was this worry of which languages to choose. There's just too many languages in this country. Maybe those are the fears. But we ourselves agree that we have 18 to 22 languages we've accepted.
Correct.
It is very easily possible. I'm even saying this. Suppose we say Janagana Mana is sung in this, it's possible to translate a song in any language.
With the same
sentiment in Tamil, in Tamil Nadu, in Malayalam, in Kerala. Only beautiful. Imagine hearing Janagana Mana in Bangla, in whatever, in Kannada, in Telugu, in Manipuri, in Tamil. It's the same song.
This clip will be taken and you will be called Tukde Tukde Gang.
It'll be fabulous. It's the same song, damn it. We're saying the same thing.
Unity in diversity.
Yeah, we have all that in our constitution. It would be that would have been the greatest celebration if we had done that. Tagore is still there. You have not lost Tagore in it.
Yeah.
Tagore is, we know Shubha Sukha Chaine, which is a Hindustani version of Janagana Mana, which Bose got reimagined for his INA by Abid Hassan. We know it is there. It's the same tune. Shubha Sukha Chain ki barka bar se Bharat baag hai jaga. Same thing. Imagine if you could sing it in Tamil. I'm getting goosebumps at the possibility.
Yeah. The other goosebump thing, call it Bengali genes or not. So we all know Tagore, Bangladesh national anthem, Indian national anthem, but there is this Sri Lankan national anthem linked with Tagore.
Yes, very much.
I didn't know that. Please.
Yeah. So Samarakun, who wrote the national anthem of Sri Lanka, was in Shantiniketan for about a year.
I didn't know that.
36, 37.
Okay.
And the story is, there are many legends, as always, is that on the way back, one of the stories on the way back, he was on the flight and he saw, whether on the flight there or something, he saw Sri Lanka and was inspired, and he wrote Namo Namo Mata, which is the original song. And then there is this entire controversy on which it should be. Again, all national anthems have controversies. So here is the interesting controversy. So his became popular organically in the community in Sri Lanka. And when they were going to choose the national anthem, they chose somebody else's song, who was already in the committee of selecting the national anthem. Okay, sounds very Indian. So anyway, what happens? Then of course there's hangama, people are shouting, it's nothing doing, it has to be Samarakoons, they choose Samarakoon. Okay, till then, okay. So they choose this, I think it's early 1951 or something. By 1953, by the way, this is translated to Tamil. And there's a Tamil version of the same song. All okay. Then what happens in the 50s is the first Prime Minister of Sri Lanka dies. Another person is assassinated. Economic downturn. And there is this feeling that the reason why this is happening is because the first three words, Namo Namo Namo, are inauspicious syllables. And because our anthem has these inauspicious
This is for
syllables,
India or for Sri Lanka?
Sri Lanka. Good one. So we should change it. So they changed the words. Apparently Samarakoon was not even consulted in this change.
Acha.
And the story is, when he passed away with being greatly upset. And they changed the first three words of the anthem. This is in Sri Lanka, right around the block. And so there are two songs. There is another song that is there, which is written, which is, this song, though people say is close to Jana Gana Mana.
And did Tagore set the tune?
No. As far as, there is also those rumors that go around. I think this was completely a Sri Lankan tune, but I think there is an inspiration. I know the Bangla, the Bengali, man, you want everything. But I'll tell you the most difficult part of this book. Man, the number of Bengali characters. After a point, I was like, I can't remember you guys. There are too many Bengalis building Indian imagination.
Correct.
Yeah, you guys need to step back, seriously. So,
Very proud of that, actually. Yeah. You know, a lot of people, there is this whole thing that happened in Bengal recently where a lady was being called a Bangladeshi for speaking Bengali in Kolkata by a Bihari. I'm like,
sorry?
A Bengali lady was called a Bangladeshi in Kolkata for speaking Bengali by a Bihari.
Oh God, that takes the cake.
I'm like, yaar, Hindi domination itna bhi mat karo. मैं भी अपना channel Hindi में करता हूँ, but this is way too much that you are abusing somebody and calling a Bangladeshi sitting in Kolkata from Bihar. So I said, dude, don't forget, while Bengalis are very nice, docile people, yes, we like our Roshogollas and we like our Tagore and our books and poetry, but we also had Raj Bihari Bose. We also had Subhash Chandra Bose.
Of course.
We also had Khudiram Bose. So when that Bose mode kicks in, to boss,
exactly.
circuit ho. That's a separate issue. But and the other thing that is very contentious, and you've written about it, is this whole Vande Mataram versus Jana Gana Mana, this juxtaposition between these two. One is a unifier, homogeneous. One is a unity in diversity. I think the right version has triumphed. I mean, what is the
100%? There's no way Vande Mataram could have been the national anthem of India. Let me very simply say. Because Vande Mataram is a complex song with a complex...
Are you talking about 1947 or 2047? 2047?
2047,
some things can happen.
Anything can happen. But 1947 until now, not possible. Let me just say it, until now. And see, Vande Mataram, its history itself is complicated. In the sense, we know, historians agree, the first two verses were written earlier, between 1872 and 75. And then when Bankim is going to write Anand Mat, published in 1881, the song is extended by two more verses. Now in this essay, I discuss the song in great detail, not just in terms of its textual content, but also its structural form. Because I say the structural form also collapses. Okay. And most people don't see that as part of maybe the problems in the song itself. See, you forget the structure of anything is very...
What is the time gap between the writing of the...
So the first two verses were written between 1872 and 1875. And between 75 and 81, you have Bankim also writing Anand Mat. And at some point of time, he's writing two more verses to it. And it appears in the book itself.
Okay.
There are two things. One is the first verse of Vande Mataram is quite a beautiful verse. The first verse. Sujalam, Shupalam, Malayajasi Chalam, Shashya Shamalam Mataram. Okay. Till then, it's fine. If you don't accept Mother as Bharat Mata, then you may still have a problem. But otherwise, it's just a descriptive about soft words. And it's a descriptive part. The second verse suddenly is a shift. He's talking about the population of people. And his imagination was population of Bengalis. So Bengal population, he says Sapta Koti Kantakata, and he said they're all suffering, and then there's a resistance to that he brings up. There itself, there's a tonality shift. So if you listen to any tune of Vande Mataram, all the verses, you will see between the first verse and second verse itself, there's a little language shift and there's a little jerkiness. The third and fourth are completely different, where the Bharat Mata becomes almost a very, very Hindu goddess who's suddenly like out there.
Okay.
Similar to the image of Bharat Mata that you see today.
Okay.
Right? And in the book, this is a song that is sung by the Hindu sannyasins while they are attacking villages and of where Muslims live. This is a song that is an initiation song for getting into that cult or whatever, right? So you can't say this song is some benign song that somehow was there in Anandamath. You cannot say that. And Anandamath, the claim by some people is that Anandamath is not anti-Muslim, but it's against the anti-Muslim ruler, which is also I'm not going to accept after reading 2 translations of Anandamath.
Okay.
And it's very clear that it's not just anti-establishment, it is anti-community. It is a kind of a book that is establishing a superiority of the Hindu community and need for their control coming back. All this. So this is Vande Mataram.
Very eligible for 2047. All of this, what you just now said.
Thank you very much.
Making it very eligible.
I'm just trying to see how will I survive. But anyway. So, okay. And the fascinating thing is, all those who subscribed for Vande Mataram in general, this generalization, also said uniform civil code. Also said one language. Also said, some of them even claim there should be God in the preamble. Mention of God in the preamble. So, if you look at, also said anti-conversion. So if you see, Vande Mataram symbolizes a certain entire ecology of what they believe is India, which is a Hindu India, a dominant Hindu India, in which others can be accommodated if they accept to be emotionally subservient, or they say, no, my forefathers were after all Hindu. You have to say one of the two. Janagana Mana is just the opposite of this thing. And Janagana Mana is a fascinating song because Tagore writes it after he's irritated that he's been asked to write a song in praise of King George.
Yes, there comes the controversy, which I get asked a lot.
This is rubbish. I mean, he's a man.
What are you saying? He wrote it in praise. I have had people fighting with me over this.
And Tagore,
please prove me wrong.
And Tagore, okay.
Please prove Bhagat Banerjee wrong.
Okay, I'll prove you wrong. Multiple reasons. One, it is true Tagore was asked to write a song in honor of King George. He was coming for the Darbar in Delhi, which was 1911. He was also going to visit Kolkata. Right? Tagore, in his own words, was absolutely irritated and shocked that somebody had the gall to come and ask him to write a song like this. So he instead writes a song, which is I call Janagana Mana a protest song. Okay? In protest celebrating the Adhinayaka, who is the eternal charioteer. You can call him divine god or whatever. However you want to describe Adhinaya, you're most welcome to describe it. But as this charioteer who is taking care of people, there is no George there. And this song is never rendered in any event where the King George was present, whether Delhi or Calcutta. Okay? This is very clear. And also remember that 1 month after the song, if the song was on George, please remember 1 month later, the British government actually put out a notice, circular, saying that those bureaucrats, etc., who are sending their students to Shantiniketan are warned.
Okay.
Now, why would they do that to somebody who celebrated King George 1 month earlier? So that's rubbish. And by the way, Tagore himself says it more than once. It's ridiculous. In fact, he uses colorful language to say how stupid it should be to even think that he could ever sing or write a song that celebrates any human being like that.
Should we learn a little bit more about the whole song?
Yes.
We've done an episode on that.
Yeah, so
beautiful.
My attachment to the song actually began with that. About 8 years ago, I began singing the whole song. Okay? And I had never seen the other verses. And I saw the other verses.
They're beautiful.
And I said, oh my God, what are we doing? So I started singing in concerts. And every time I sing Buddha, Sikh, Jain, Parashiko, Mushalmanu, Hindustani, I choke, even now. Because that's the ethos of the song. He describes all the communities. He also says that the country is in a state of darkness. He says there's a darkness surrounding, there is gloom, there is sadness. And then he ends by saying the sun will rise behind the eastern hills. This is how the last verse ends. the trajectory, the emotional trajectory, not just the physical trajectory, which is the geography of India.
Yeah.
Of that song is phenomenal.
So we've kept the geographical part. There is this whole emotional.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I sometimes wish we had retained that second verse. That second line should have been part. Because I'm also surprised at some level, because think of partition. Think of all the violence that was happening. I wish we had said, no, at this moment, we need that other verse. We need every Indian saying, we are a country of Muslims, Hindus, Christians, Parsis, everybody else. And whether people understood or not, it's like you and I remember all the songs we sing in school. Whether we knew the meaning or not, it stays. This should mean that we remember that verse. So whether you have a ideological position or not, somewhere it stays with you. And I think we missed a trick there. I really think we missed a trick.
The other very interesting, of course, because I am a student of history and I love civics, so obviously I turned to the chapter of the preamble first. And just like Tagore writing it for King George, the other one is, oh boy, the kind of comments that come in. We should remove secularism from the preamble. And I said, go ahead, decimate it. It doesn't change a shit in the Constitution. So. Do we need to again educate, inform, and tell people what the preamble really is? I mean, secularism didn't fly off from an alien planet and land into the preamble.
Yeah, first of all, see, Indian secularism was very different. It's not like the French secularism. See, also remember, France was at one point in time very homogeneous, right? Actually, France is struggling with its secularism today because there is violence against all these communities.
Correct.
You know, because secularism now, there's complete separation of public life and private life and all this, right? Because at that time it was mainly a white country. With mainly Christians. Now, when the demography starts changing, that kind of very rigid secularism is also becoming a tool of violence,
correct,
which you see. Ours was never that, which is very clear again and again in our fundamental rights section, that we understood secularism and faith and religion in a very different manner. We realized the unevenness in these various communities, in their practices. We also give priorities to minorities of all sorts. Whether people, when we talk about minorities as if the Muslims are the only minorities, linguistic minorities are also included in our provisions, right? Cultural minorities also. So understanding secularism like this is something we missed doing. And see, the preamble came alive during the CA protests for some time. Everybody was reading this preamble. I actually think we don't even, so like I said, people wanted the word God, for example, in the preamble. And you know, there was a vote on it in the Constituent Assembly, whether God should be there or not. There was a vote and was against it. So what we did was fascinating. We didn't use the word secular. We didn't use the word God. We didn't use both those words. I think that's where our secularism lies. In the fact that we found no necessity for both.
Correct.
And we found the fact that we realized also the fluidity between faith, non-faith, society, public, private life. And we said all we take care of is we take care of all the social equity and equality of all communities, recognizing they are not this.
That itself is.
That itself means that this is a secular nation. That also means this is also a nation where people pray whatever they want to pray. We allow for that osmosis to happen. I think it was brilliant, actually. It was bloody brilliant. So what we've actually done is by including it at that point of time, we've created a situation that is not required. So anybody, first of all, who thinks we are not secular, if you, like you said, remove the word, go ahead. In our fundamental rights, I know we are secular. I also know we have the socialist sensibility.
Yeah.
It's there in our fundamental rights. You don't need those two words in the preamble for us to prove ourselves to be that. And both are very valuable sensibilities for every citizen, not just courts and judges, for every citizen. So actually, we've created a problem.
You've also taken a lot of pains to explain the other words which I think tend to get overlooked, including fraternity.
Yeah, that's the most...
We need a lot more of it.
It's the best part of the preamble, the most important part, right? What does it mean to be a fraternity? And the connected words of dignity and privacy, all these are very closely knit, right? And Ambedkar uses the word Maitri, and which has Buddhist history. And what is amazing about Maitri is it's not just anthropocentric. It's all living beings. So there is certain environmental understanding of fraternity, which is also, I think, fascinating for us to think about. But imagine, isn't it some way crazy that at a point of independence, we are this country that is like divided in so many ways. Religious, communal violence is crazy. And there are different parts of the country looking at different things. And then we say we should be a fraternity. It's almost ambitious at a ridiculous level. But I think that's what makes it important. That despite all these things, people felt that we have to find a way of coming together. And they also realize that, you said unity in diversity, realize that the only way we can come together is also say everybody be. Not be like me.
Everybody be.
Yeah, not be like me, right? So this understanding, I think, was profound, which is why our fraternity also, in many ways, is respectful. And that is why I, in this book, talk about dignity a lot, individual dignity. Because I think that if you center individual dignity, hypothetically, forget about community, everything, forget about equality, equity, just for a moment. And if I say, all of us sitting here, I value each one's dignity, then question of equity will automatically come from there. Equality will automatically come from there. But that needs to break community feeling, right?
But, how do you get this across to people who are now fed morning till night is that we have been a loser nation for the last 70, 75 years. When you are saying at a time when khane ko tha nahi, we just came into being a nation, and we're talking about these high level thinking of getting the flag right, getting the preamble right, getting the constitution right, getting our symbols right, getting the nation together, unifying. These were not small things for a country that...
Absolutely. We don't even respect the fact that so much effort went into trying to make this happen. Now, was it perfect? No. Were there flaws? Yes. We all agree. But it's what is crazier is that now we think, like you said, like 75 years is a waste of time. As if we destroyed ourselves for 75 years. And
it was said in Parliament yesterday. Nehru, nothing happened. No, we slipped.
Yeah, so at some point, it's also our failure that we have not communicated this enough in the last 70 years or 65 years before we got into
our new independence. Huh?
So, but I'm saying we didn't do enough. That's also true, Akash. That's important to acknowledge. That what have we done in our schools? For example, I really believe we should have been a public school country. We've become a private school country. Let's look at that. That, I think, is a very important aspect of the discussion, education and schooling. We've become predominantly private school country where all the privileged are always go to private school. Our public school system, we first of all made it a concurrent subject, which we should not have made. It should be in a state subject. It should not have been concurrent. We are look at the new ways in which centralization of education is happening. So we allowed for these. We talk about democracy. Like at some level, if you think of it, all these are very highbrow words here. Secularism, democracy, fraternity. So the question is, what did we do to translate these words to everyday person, to a classroom conversation? I'm saying, why are there no songs that you and I were taught in school that celebrated these things, equality, or that said that caste has no room in our society? Why were we not singing those songs in 3rd grade and 4th grade? We should have been singing those songs. If you want democracy, if you want equity and equality, and if you want us to understand what this constitution is, it should have been through methods in classrooms where young people, whether they got it or not, were being told these things. Think of the people who are speaking a bigoted language today. They've been fed this from when they are 2, 3.
Yes.
They have been constantly fed. Now they are adults and we are saying, oh God, how do I talk to this person? I have done nothing. I have not done enough. Maybe nothing is an exaggeration, but not enough. So I think the only way to cut across all this or like break through this is find different modes. Just arts become very important, which is why art resistance becomes very important, because that's where you can say things without people really knowing that you said it. You can crack a joke when it'll just pass. Maybe at that moment the person doesn't like it, but it'll stay. It'll be an irritant sometimes. Sometimes I've seen this. I've gone to see a movie or a play, and then there's something in a dialogue or a moment that really irritates me. Right? Maybe I don't agree with it. But the thing about art is it will not go away. It will keep nagging you. It does it in a different way.
But are we past that barrier where you could slip in some things? Comedians could make political statements. Artists like you could be rebellious and yet get away with it.
I don't think we...
or it's a very fine line already.
It's a very fine line. You're still like on the edge of it, right? But you just have to do it. A well-known artist once asked me, I was in the plane, I was going to board a plane, and he happened to just come on the same flight. The first thing he told me was, boss, you're riding a tiger, man. First thing he told me, be careful, or something to that effect. So by the way, he's far more powerful than me. He can probably ride many tigers. But he looks at me and tells me, you're riding a tiger. So I said, and you can't get off it. You know that, right? That's what he told me. I said, but sometimes you just have to ride the tiger, boss. There's no other choice in the matter. And then the conversation ended. And we went and sat down. But I'm saying this idea, right? It's like, oh God, you have to. I know it's fine line. I know it is risky. But if you don't do it, if you don't find a way to pass it, yeah, you have to be strategic. You probably have to pause at times. You probably have to take that moment away. You have to come back. Yes, you're going to do all that. Of course, you're going to do that. But if you don't do it, then this question of are we past the time maybe is gone.
How many people do you think in your fraternity, in the creative fraternity, have this mad urge that I have to do it?
Very few. It's the same names. I can tell you the names in my hand. I can count them. They're probably...
How does that change?
That will only change if people realize art is more than just
a concert.
Yes.
And selling.
Or a movie or selling tickets. Without that happening, it's not going to happen. And also, if some people are waiting for their moment to do it, no. The moment's, like you said, it's there. You have to do it now or never. And it's, see, the thing is this, people don't realize if the people with power, cultural power,
yeah,
if they start doing it, then the chances that many more will follow is so much more.
Yeah.
And they are the ones who are failing us the most with a lamest of excuses. And that's the sad thing. Because the moment I see somebody with power doing it, I know. When young people write to me, for example, many young artists write to me from across India. And that gives me hope sometimes. Those are things that give me hope. And they say, like, I saw this, or I saw this article, or I saw this song that you sang, or blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I also feel this way. What do I do? I want to do something, So I tell them I can give you a utopian answer. Ha, kar do everything. I said, no, don't. Your job now is to keep that fire burning, right? You have to be strategic about it. You
can't go guns blazing.
You have to know when you have the power enough to push. Now, the fact that that person wrote to me is only because that person felt, yeah, this guy is doing it, which means I can do it. We need many people of power, cultural power, to say, if I do that thing, then somebody else will think about doing it in their own way. And also, we don't need one big bang show. We make that mistake. We think we want everything to be mass and everything to be scaled. No, we need many small things.
Yeah.
It has to happen in villages. We don't need to have to, you and I need not have heard about it. It has to happen in little towns. And those little things is what the bigots are most scared of, by the way.
That's exactly coming to that it does not even have to be cultural icons doing something like this. This whole Mohammed Deepak thing that happened in Kotdwar.
Exactly.
And it resulted in such a huge, social media phenomena. Imagine 5-10 more of him. Exactly. Normal citizens. He's not even a social media star or something, or a political, influencer. He's just a normal person who stood up.
Yeah.
Now, so that basically then brings me to the point is that then this change that we are thinking of, will music bring that change? Will awareness and education? Because again, we are living in the WhatsApp.
Oh yeah, completely, yeah.
So we are de-educating, we are regressing. You're talking about this book. I was just telling you before we started. A 20-minute... I have people writing, your videos are too intellectual. I'm like, what? Intellectual? Maybe YouTube video, yaar. It's a coffee table conversation we are having. I am intellectual. Then how do we make people understand the notion of unity, diversity, nationhood?
So I really...
Us versus them.
I really think these ideas, whatever they are, have to be transformed into multiple things, including songs, dance, whatever. They have to be. I feel very strongly that's the only way you can get to people. It has to be a song, it can be a dance, it can be even people in their own ways reimagining it.
It is intellectualism, but it can be massified or simplified.
I think it can be communicated in a language that reaches everybody.
Yeah.
That's the whole point, right? So I think it can be done quite easily, and we need participation for that. We need people to do that. So if you do that, then I think it's not so complicated.
You're doing this with your vision.
So I do that in my music.
Your festival that you're also...
We've been doing festivals with multiple communities.
So what's the agenda there?
So the idea is, how I look at it is, I look at my work in one simple way. I said, can we create intersections?
Okay.
Like street intersections, where all kinds of people come there. What happens in the intersection, I will not decide. I will create a cause for people to rub shoulders with each other, which they never do normally. I will create a situation where they have to listen to a song which one understands, the other doesn't understand, but they're going to spend time together. See, one thing is clear, Akash. The only way people will change is if they feel something, not because if they understand anything. They have to feel something.
So you're again coming back to the fact that intellectualism also will be understood unless and until there's no emotion, intellectualism will not.
It has to be felt.
Felt.
It has to be felt. It has to, you have to feel. I think you and I are having this conversation, something is happening in us now.
Yeah.
We're feeling something. It has to be felt. So these festivals are in a way a manifestation of these ideas, shall we say, in some manner, where we created, first, when I first got involved in it, like I tell you this situation, 2014-15, there's this big classical music festival in Chennai called December Festival. It's one of the biggest in the world. And I've been singing in it and part of it for decades. And in 14, I walked out of it. And I said, I'm done here because this is a very caste Brahminical hub and I'm uncomfortable with it. I walked out of it and I kept quiet for some time. And then I had this crazy idea of saying, why not do a art festival which questions this notion of space also? You understand? Art also demarcated on which art happens where, who comes where, everything's demarcated, right? It's like a gated community.
Correct.
Like everybody know who can come in, who can't come in. So then this idea was in my head, I had no clue what to do. Luckily I did nothing because I knew shit. Then another friend of mine, I said, why do you go meet this activist? He's an environmental activist. His name is Nityan Jairam. He lives in this little village. So there's a very unusual village in Chennai. It's called Urur Olcott Kuppam. Unusually, the village, right around the village, is a very privileged middle class, upper caste community.
Okay.
This is still a fisher village.
Okay.
So that's very unusual. Usually what happens in gentrification is after a point, these villages just disappear.
They will overtaken.
So what happened in a gentrified section, we have this village still there. And he is basically an environmental activist. So I went there and he didn't know me, I didn't know him. Sent him a blind email. Went and met him in his office. So it's him, me and Saravanan who belongs to the village. So he said, what? I said, I have this idea of doing an art festival that will bring all kinds of people together. So he said, it's a great idea. So he's an activist. So from an activist angle, he said, it's a great idea. Environmentalism is there. We can bring this conversation. Saravanan from the village said, we'll do it here. Why? He said, I want to tell the world that my village is oldest. It's been here for 300 years before these guys built all their homes here. It is an assertion of our fisher identity. So three of us come into this agreement for very different reasons. I as an artist, saying all art is equal. We need to create a platform. So the festival happened in the beach sands, where you had classical music, you had the songs of the fishers, you had all kinds of art forms. You had about 2,000 people just gathering and sitting there and eating bhaji, eating fish, watching art. Nobody said there was a political agenda, but at the end of it, people smiled at each other. Something changed. And even I'll tell you one anecdote, even among the, volunteers. We're not an organization, just volunteers. Put out a post saying, anybody want to volunteer, come. So I remember once we had to go and invite all the people in the village. So what we do is we'll take all these little notices, go to every house and say, festival's happening, please come. And they're like, yeah, kya festival? Yeah, I'll see, I have work that day. I have to sell fish. Very practical. And I remember one lady was selling fish and this volunteer went and gave her the notice. That lady just took it and said, okay, and dumped it here. She was very insulted. The volunteer.
Correct.
So in our debrief afterwards, she says, what is this? Then this whole activism is also sometimes a problem because we think we are doing some service to society. They are like, this is my everyday life.
Uski reality is different. Yeah.
So these interactions change you. These little moments say, the world is bigger. For example, beach cleaning. India loves beach cleaning now. Nobody asks, whose beach are you cleaning? Whose beach do you clean? To clean the beach that only middle class comes.
Correct.
Do you go across the beach? Do you care about the beach that is right outside the fisher's hut? That beach you won't clean. Why? So there are so many. So I think that what I like to do, whether it is my writing or singing, is saying I just want to create a little mess.
So when you do all of this, when you question this whole class system, then you become anti-Brahmanical, you become anti-Hindu.
Everything. Yeah, I'm anti-everything.
So are you anti-Brahmanical?
I am anti-Brahmanical. That's no doubt. Because I don't think, the Brahmanical structure is an option.
So there's a difference. Are you anti-Brahmanical or anti-Brahmanical structure?
So I'm not able to separate the two. They both go together.
Okay.
I'm not anti any individual, anti anybody. But this oppressive framework that we have, which is a Brahmanical framework, definitely needs to be broken down. It has no space in a democratic, equal society. I have no doubts about that. Now, that doesn't mean everybody does not have the right to pray how they pray or go to the temple. That's a very different thing.
Yeah.
I don't mix the two at all.
So when you talk about break down a structure, is because I face the same issue when I talk about secularism. Then you mean what happens to the Brahmins? They will go start fishing?
No. I'm okay with their fish, by the way. What's the problem with Brahmins fish? Go fish. Why should you not fish?
No, I am okay to fish and have it.
Exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, I would also do that. But I'm saying that, so what do you mean by what will happen to somebody?
Like secularism, is it? Secularism? No. That means that we are giving away our rights to someone else. That's not my definition of secularism.
No.
You be.
As everybody be. That's what they do.
Correct.
That's right. So similarly, like you don't want to eat beef, don't eat beef, boss. But there are Hindus who eat beef.
Correct.
Let them eat beef. So when I wrote this book on Mridangam makers called Sebastian and Sons, the whole book is about this interaction between Mridangam players who are primarily Brahmins, Mridangam makers who are primarily Dalits. It's a very unusual social relationship that goes past 20, 30 years.
Okay.
And the launch of that book was cancelled because they said that this book will create communal disharmony. Okay? And my point was, now you Brahmin are happy to play a mridangam that is made out of cow skin and say, Are kya nada, all this nonsense. Do you know how it is skinned? They'll tell you, no, they take a dead cow. No, you can't make it from dead cow.
Oh.
So when any animal dies, the blood will clot. The skin will become tight and hard, cannot be used for an instrument. So when you kill an animal, you have to immediately skin it out, and that skin is what can be made into an instrument. So a mridangam has cow skin, has buffalo skin and goat skin. Without cow skin, you will not get that nada, that divinity that you want. But who does that work for you? The Dalit community does. So, but unless you're willing to engage with this, so for me, all this has to be discussed. So when you speak about beef, when you speak about all Hindus are one, no, it's not so simple. It's very complicated here. So these are the things that we should be talking about. These are the things where change can happen. And at some level, Akash, I also think that the younger people, I'd like to hope, maybe I'm being optimistic, you know better. I think the younger privileged specifically are also watching this at some level. And I think that they may not express themselves now, but I think that they are watching.
They are watching. We exist because they are watching.
Yes.
I'm proof of that. But there is also this, and I hope that you can help them, those who are watching. There are people who are watching, consuming, understanding, not appreciating what is going on, but they do not want to engage with the filth. They do not want to engage with the trolling. They don't want to engage with the abuse. You have dealt with all of this. What advice would you give to such people then?
Okay. I will say, look, if you cannot handle what happens in social media, I will not push you to do it. I will not. Maybe you will get there at some point of time. Okay. But I think if you can make that change in your real life, whether it is your home or your collection of friends, that's very important work. Don't give up on that. Don't give up on conversations you can have with your colleagues.
Yeah.
Conversation you can have with your parents, your aunts and uncles, whatever.
You don't have to have a YouTube channel or a Magsaysay Award.
You don't need any of this. And you don't need to go and tom-tom to the world. You don't need to. But if everybody can say, it's like you said, it's not but take the responsibility that these are things that we want to discuss. If you can create, I will even say this, go a step further. If you can create a safe space where people can gather and have private conversations about this, not record it, not video it, nothing. You are doing something valuable.
Correct.
I think that is a great beginning for young people, And I'm not saying you don't need to. Sometimes I have told young people, do not post on social media. I've actually told them that.
Yeah.
I said, you can't deal with it. The trolling can get to you. So don't do it. But speak to your friends.
So there is that aspect, creating a safe space. I'll just add one line to that. I also say that it matters what you watch, what you share, what you comment, who you encourage, even on social media, because that gives itself
100%.
a complete different life.
Correct, that's true.
So that's also there.
Also true.
It's not you have to hit the streets. There is a lot that you can do digitally also. But what I am noticing, and you are facing the brunt of it, is the institutional capture. Even if I want to say something, tomorrow my college will. There are so many kids who come to me and say that we are scared because our college is tracking our social media comments also. And you would face it, or I would face it, when we will not get invited to a conclave, for example.
Absolutely.
So how do you handle that then?
So
you can't create institutions.
No, that you can't. So see, again, how can you change the environment in a college? Because the question is that, right? So one is the institutional capture, unfortunately, has to be handled at a different scale. That's where I think our political parties are a huge failure. It's their job. They have the scale, they have the wherewithal, they technically do, to actually be able to push that part. They are not doing enough. They have not done enough. So that's not something you and I as individuals can do.
Yeah.
Okay. So that requires concerted and consistent and perseverance in that work. To go at it on every day. You can't say, I'll speak about this for 2 days and 5 days later I'll go sleep and then again I say, hey, something after elections are coming in. You can't do that. And let's be true. The other side is doing it every day. Okay?
Do you think that we give far too much credit to the government for its amazing politics and well-oiled machinery when the opposition itself is so comatose?
100%. There's no doubt about it. Once they are well oiled, they are a great machinery, they have more money than anybody can imagine. All true. But the fact is, the opposition in general is in complete siesta.
But I'm told they have one hand tied in their back. So I said, what are you doing with the other hand?
That's true. Your one hand is tied, but like you said, you can still do something. You can still do more than individuals. Let's take it there.
Yeah.
You still can do. And what is worse, I feel sometimes political parties want NGOs to do it. And activists to do it. No.
So सीधा jail जाएंगे.
No, the activist job is not this.
Correct.
It's your job.
Correct.
Don't just give away your job to activists and social organizations to say, aap karo. No, that's not our job. So they don't do their job. They don't investigate enough. They don't do the research you do to do your show. Let's put it that way. I mean, when you do a show, I know how much research goes into before you do a show. Tell me which political party on any damn issue speaks with that detailed alacrity. Tell me one. They'll make all these very fluffy statements for 2 days and go away. No, they don't. So if you are not willing to invest that way, how can you stop institutional capture? And you're only reactive. An institution gets captured and then you shout it's captured. You knew it is happening for the last so many years. What were you doing then? Nothing.
And when you get into a controversy, this whole Sangeeta Kalanidhi, this whole award, how does one deal with it once you get into this controversy? Because eventually, would you say that anybody who's even voicing at even a subliminal level, smaller level, will eventually land in some sort of controversy? Should we take that as a given and be ready for that? If you're willing to speak for the nation, if you're willing to talk about caste structures, you will get into some sort of controversy.
100%. This is no brainer. You have to be prepared. If you discuss in India, today India, if you speak any of these ideas in this book, or if I talk about the fact that this government is not doing what...
It's so sad you said that. Any of the ideas in this book, if you discuss, you'll get into trouble. Yeah. The preamble, the national anthem.
That's the truth. That's the truth.
Yeah.
That is the truth. And that all those things will lead you into some kind of trouble, some kind of trolling, some kind of controversy is a given. And you have to somehow mentally be prepared for it. But truthfully, you're not ever prepared. Anybody who's faced it knows it. There are moments when you're like, I'm done with this shit. That is that. But you just have to, because that's where we are today. That's exactly where we are today.
So this whole, I found it very fascinating. We just did an episode on Mohammad Deepak. I find it very interesting is because I hope to see it as some sort of a turning point where an average Indian will stand up and say, enough of this bullshit. In the same way, the Muhammad Akhlaq's lynching was a turning point is because a man carrying any sort of a meat going back home was lynched, where it was not even beef. I mean, it doesn't matter, even if it was beef, you don't get lynched for that. But so that was a turning point. If I ask you, where was this turning point? Where did we completely Is there a particular point that you would remember?
I really don't think there is a particular. I think that the fact is that we let things slide for decades. See, let's look at it this way. Independence 47, 51, Republic. So the first 2 decades of any country is like euphoria. One is you're just trying to
get things
moving. And there's also this euphoria of we became an independent nation. All this can run for some time. Okay, and then we have the emergency.
Yeah.
Okay. And after the emergency, we didn't learn anything. That to me is the biggest failure. We just went on as if everybody understood all these things. That,
and it won't happen again.
Yeah, and also, we talk about these things in the 80s, these romantic things that we see, Mile Suru Mera Tumhara and all that, right?
Yeah.
Great and important. But I think we also took it for granted. That's the problem there. Because we put out these things out, we thought that this is there in everyday person. No, this is not there. We are not, fraternity doesn't come naturally to anybody. It never came naturally to us. Let's be first honest with that. It is not simple. It is complicated. It has historical baggage. It has stories that you're told from childhood. Every community is told a different story. You're taught to hate. The moment I see somebody, Akash, I have suspicion or I have acceptance. This is based on what? Color of skin, based on whether that person looks Muslimish, the name of the person. This is how we are brought up in this country today in 2026. So imagine 80s or 70s. The fact is we let things they were always there below, I think. But they never erupted because at least you had political decency of saying these things cannot be something that you do publicly.
Yeah.
You can do it in your house or you cannot talk about it. Then you have 1991, you have Babri Masjid, and the slide becomes faster and faster and more acute and acute and acute. But we just let it go. So I think we dropped the ball. So it is not a moment, but we dropped the ball.
You mentioned about politicians had some sort of decency. You can't say some things publicly. You recently had the Chief Minister of Assam telling people, don't give 1 rupee extra to the rickshaw.
I saw that.
Take 1 rupee away. So I said, if this chillargiri sort of politics happened, this chamanni chap politics, as I call it, you've seen the world, you travel the world, you do concerts. Do you believe, because I don't, do you believe that India can prosper economically when it is being hollowed out like this at a social and communal level?
I think the data...
A lot of people think we can.
No. I think that they're being stupid. I mean, I'm a very amateur...
4th largest economy, please. 4th largest.
I mean, that's such a dumbest argument. I mean, after a certain point, population increases, you're going to grow, you're going to become larger economy. That's by default. You've done nothing for it. Let's be very clear. I mean, you should be really daft to think that you have done something for it, but nothing for it. Now, as a very amateur economic student, any economist from any section of the political spectrum with political will tell you that unless there is some extent beyond infrastructure and facility and less red tapeism, all these things, unless there is a social environment which is fairly cohesive, non-violent, and accommodative of all kinds of people, economic growth will be stunted.
Yeah.
This is a no-brainer. Otherwise, you have to go to the other extent and say the state controls everything. Become some kind of that operation.
Yeah.
This is basic. And to believe that you can constantly be riling people, constantly be calling them termites or saying that you don't belong here or and you can just do this constantly and somehow still people will say, oh, everything is hunky-dory, I'll invest there. No, you will have trickles coming in. See, the reason why we are able to get away with a lot is because of the sheer population of this country and what that means in terms of market for people coming to this country. Which is why we've got away with a lot of nonsense. Because all the other countries are saying, boss, you have a young population who are going to consume. I want to sell. But that's not going to last too long. And that we are already seeing.
Yeah.
It is not going to last too long. Unless, again, you think of it in this manner. I mean, 100 rupees will be tomorrow morning, man. We'll be at 200 rupees maybe.
And you've tried to raise this issue. I have tried to raise this issue on the channel. I have tried to tell people is that being a true Hindu is being able to understand the difference between Hindutva and Hinduism. Absolutely. That they are antithetical to each other. And again, you will have people fighting you out and saying it's the same damn thing. So the basics, unfortunately, are far, far away from being settled.
Yes, and I think, again, we've allowed for many, sometimes I feel we have to take back some vocabulary. We have also avoided it. Like for a long time, in this book I say it, I never used the word spiritual for a long time. I stayed away from it. But now I'm saying, no, I'm going to use the word. I want to own the word because that's been maligned so much. So I think they also made a mistake by allowing for, colors to go away, words to go away, to be appropriated. So no, I think saying you're Hindu cannot see this hyper political correctness is the biggest problem with the liberal world. You don't want to piss off somebody in the liberal world.
You'll end up pissing off everybody.
You don't want to say you're Hindu because you're scared that your whatever atheistic friends will say, oh, you're a religious person. You don't want you have all these unnecessary complications.
Yeah.
And that is allowed for a fragmentation among the world, among the people who believe in certain values. It is true. It is related. So I think we have to also embrace those words and say, yes, Hindutva is not Hinduism. It's just not it.
Okay.
You just have to say it.
Finally,
and you have to say, I will celebrate it. I will pray if I want to pray. I will not pray if I want to pray. I'll pray the way I want to pray. That's what I will do.
I'm going to give you a magic stick at the end of our conversation with the ability of adding something to the preamble, with the ability of adding something B to the education syllabus and adding something to public discourse. 3 things.
I can choose one of them.
No. You can take 3. What would you change? So let's go with the preamble first. Would you change anything in the preamble?
Not really. I don't think so. But I have one small aspect of the preamble. I'm going to take the book from you. So that line, fraternity assuring the dignity of the individual, the unity and the integrity of the nation. I would say fraternity assuring the dignity of the individual and the integrity and the unity. So this unity and integrity of the nation, right, is often become more loaded on that side to the dignity of the individual.
Okay.
So I felt that was a load that I don't want, because I would like to center the dignity of the individual, right? So that's one thing that I would say, because the dignity of the individual is where you come. Because unity, integrity, almost saying maybe we will all.
Yeah, we need a little bit more dignity of the individual.
Yeah, I would center the dignity more. If there's a way we can center the dignity of the individual more in fraternity, I would do that.
Okay. One change in the educational system, besides singing of the national anthem in all the other official languages, which of course is a great thought. But what other change would you bring?
So there's one thing that I tried in Tamil Nadu, they've not yet implemented it, which is now the songs only, going back to music. We came up about a year ago, a set of 10 songs that every school student will sing in government public schools on various values from the Constitution.
Very nice.
So it was anti-caste, it was accepting multiple genders, it was about the strength of labor, what does labor mean? It was all these ideas that is about societal equality and coexistence. We created 9 or 10 songs. The songs are ready. I'm hoping the Tamil Nadu state government brings it into practice. I will make every child sing these songs in their schools.
One change in society, besides of course them reading this book, but what is one thing you'll tell society in large, citizens in large, Deshbhakts, if you would?
I would ask for everyone to do one simple thing, very simple thing, is if every one of us can, say we've all walked the street, right, from point A to point B, hypothetically. And what will happen is through a period of time, you'll walk the same route. If you can change the route of your walk every day and just look around every day, very simple task, it's not complicated. I think that will change you.
Open your eyes to newer things. Absolutely. I completely agree with that. I'll take this just to tell people it's a fascinating book that I am reading currently. T.M. Krishna's We the People of India, Decoding the nation's symbols. And our symbols are actually very interesting. Again, something that we just let go. Arey, wo to hai, anthem hai, flag hai, aaya kaise? How did it come about? It's a fascinating story. So as a student of history, I am fascinated. As somebody who would like to know more about India and how did we get our symbols, civics, amazing civics lesson also. Thank you so much. What a pleasure.
Such a pleasure, Akash. Such a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much. Thanks.